There is a phrase you have heard 1,000 times. You have repeated it in a low voice, you have seen it written on white walls, in ancient books, in words spoken from dark wooden pulpits. You thought you knew it, you thought you understood it, but you don't know it, because what reached you was not what he said, it was what they decided you should hear, and that decision changed everything. It changed the way you understand love, it changed the way you relate to the divine, it changed the path you walk toward yourself. It was not a mistake, it was not an accident, it was a deliberate choice, made in closed rooms, by hands that feared the power of the original words. And now, after centuries of forgetting, of layers upon layers of translation and reinterpretation, that phrase wants to return to you, not as dogma, not as commandment, but as remembrance, as something that was always in you, waiting to be remembered. Breathe. Because what you are about to discover is not information, it is recognition. It is the moment when something inside you says, yes, I always knew this. It is not that you are being taught something new, it is that you are being returned something that was taken from you, something that should not have been erased, but it was, because it was dangerous, because it liberated, because it took control from the hands of a few and returned it to everyone. And that was not convenient. So the phrase was modified, gently, with delicacy, with such subtlety that no one noticed, and for generations, you and everyone before you repeated the altered version, believing it was the original, believing it came from him. But it did not come from him. It came from those who needed him to say something different, something more manageable, something more controllable, something that would not make you feel what you really should feel, that you do not need intermediaries, that you do not need permission, that the sacred is already in you. The phrase you know says, "No one comes to the Father except through me." You have heard it, you have read it, and they taught you that it meant exclusion, that it meant a single path, that it meant that outside of that voice, outside of that name, outside of that historical figure, there was no access. They told you it was a closed door, that only those who passed through it, only those who accepted that specific key could enter. And so for centuries, that phrase built walls, it divided humanity, it created insides and outsides, saved and lost, chosen and rejected. And you, without knowing it, carried that weight. You carried the idea that you were on one side or the other, that you had to defend that door or stay outside forever. But that phrase, the one you repeated, the one they made you believe, is not what he said. What he said was different, subtle, but completely different. And the difference changes everything. What he really said was, no one comes to the Father except as I am, not through me, but as I am, not through my name, not by means of my figure, not by worshiping me or following me blindly, but as I am, like him, being what he was, living as he lived, loving as he loved, awakening to the same consciousness he awakened to. He was not placing himself as an intermediary, he was offering himself as an example, as a mirror, as a reminder of what you already are. He did not say, I am the only way and everyone must pass through me. He said, the way is to be as I am, to be conscious as I am conscious, to be love as I am love. And that difference, that small changed word, destroyed centuries of separation, because if the message is as I am, then it is not about worshiping an external figure, it is about awakening to the same light that figure awakened to, and that light is in you. It was always in you. You do not need intermediaries. You do not need external doors. You need to remember who you are. It was not a translation error. It was not an innocent linguistic confusion. It was a theological decision, a political decision, a decision that benefited those who needed to maintain power over souls. Because if the phrase said as I am, then each person had direct access. Each person could awaken. Each person could be like him. And that meant they did not need priests as intermediaries. They did not need institutions as gatekeepers. They did not need hierarchies as bridges. And that, in the context of the first centuries after his departure, when religious power structures were being formed, was unacceptable. So the word was changed, as became through. And with that small modification, the entire system was secured, because now you did need to pass through him. You needed someone to tell you how to do it. You needed someone to explain what it meant. You needed to belong to the correct institution, repeat the correct words, follow the correct rituals, and thus the message of liberation became a message of control. But truth does not die. It hides. It is buried. It is whispered in silence on dark nights. And now in this moment, as you read these words, it is awakening in you, not because I am teaching it to you, but because you already knew it. You always knew it. Somewhere deep, where words do not reach, where control does not extend, where only your pure essence exists, you always knew that you did not need permission to be light, you did not need an external door to access the divine, because the divine is not in another place. It is here, in you, in every breath, in every heartbeat, in every moment when you choose love instead of fear, in every instant when you choose truth instead of lies, in every second when you choose to be like Him, not to worship Him, but to be like Him. Do you understand what this means? It means you are not a follower seeking a distant leader, you are a remember, awakening to your own light. It means you are not broken waiting to be saved by someone else. You are complete, remembering your completeness. It means you do not need to earn divine love. You already are that love. You always were. You just forgot. And He, the one who walked 2,000 years ago speaking in parables and touching lepers and challenging systems, did not come to create a new system. He came to destroy all the systems that kept you separated from yourself. He came to remind you that the kingdom is not in temples or in distant heavens, it is within you. Here, now, always. When He said the kingdom of heaven is within you, He was not talking about a future place, He was talking about a present state, of a consciousness that awakens when you stop searching outside and begin to recognize inside. When He said I and the Father are one, He was not proclaiming an exclusive divinity, He was inviting you to recognize the same oneness in you. Because if He and the Father are one, and you are made of the same essence as Him, then you and the Father are also one, not in theory, not in a distant future, now, in this moment, in this body, in this life. But they did not tell you that. They told you that He was special, that He was unique, that you were different, that you were less, that you needed external salvation, and so they kept you small, they kept you searching, they kept you needing, but not anymore. You no longer need to search. Because what you were searching for never left, it was only covered by layers of fear, by centuries of control, by altered words and distorted messages. And now in this instant, as you breathe, as you feel the air enter and leave your lungs, as your heart beats without you ordering it to, the truth is emerging, not as a concept, not as an idea, but as an experience, as something you feel in the center of your chest, as something you recognize without need for explanation. Close your eyes for a moment. You do not have to do it, but if you do, you will feel this more deeply. Close your eyes and breathe, slow, deep. Feel how the air enters through your nose, fills your lungs, expands your chest. Feel how it stops for an instant at the peak of inhalation, and then feel how it leaves, warm, soft, taking away everything you do not need, everything they told you that you were, everything they taught you that you should be. All of that goes with each exhalation. And with each inhalation, something new enters, or rather something ancient returns, something that was always there, waiting to be recognized. You are light. You do not need to become light. You already are light. You just need to remember it. Now, with eyes closed or open, bring your attention to your heart, not to the physical organ, but to the space in the center of your chest, that place where you feel the deepest emotions, where you feel love, where you feel sadness, where you feel truth. That place is your direct connection with the divine. You do not need to go to any temple. You do not need to repeat any magic phrase. You do not need to pass through any external door. You only need to arrive here, to this space within you. And from here, from this center, ask yourself, what do I feel when I think of the phrase as I am instead of through me? What changes in my interior? Does something open? Does something relax? Do I feel relief? Do I feel freedom? Because that is what should happen. You should feel that something that was tight loosens, something that was closed opens, something that was far approaches, because as I am returns power to you. It returns responsibility to you. It returns dignity to you. You are no longer a beggar waiting for crumbs of salvation. You are a child remembering its inheritance. You are no longer a sinner seeking external forgiveness. You are love learning to recognize itself. You are no longer small and He great. Both are expressions of the same source. Both are light. The difference is that He remembered it completely, and you are still in the process of remembering. But the remembering is inevitable. It is your nature. You cannot not remember. You can only delay the remembering. And every time you breathe consciously, every time you choose love instead of fear, every time you see another human being, and recognize the same light in them as in you. You are remembering. You are being like Him. You are not worshiping Him. You are being Him. You are not following Him. You are walking beside Him. You are not beneath Him. You are with Him. And that terrified those who built the walls, because if everyone remembered, if everyone awakened, if everyone realized they did not need intermediaries, then the intermediaries would lose their function, and they could not allow that, so they altered the phrase, and with that alteration, they built centuries of separation, centuries of religious wars, centuries of us against them, centuries of saved against lost, centuries of fear and control, and you were born into that world, you grew up breathing that air, and without knowing it, you internalized that separation, you internalized the idea that you were far from the divine, that you needed something external to reach it, that you were insufficient as you are, but you are not, you never were. That was the biggest lie they told you, the lie that kept you searching outside for what was always inside. Breathe again, feel your body, feel the weight of your body against the chair, against the floor, against the earth, feel gravity holding you, feel the earth beneath you. That same earth that held His feet 2,000 years ago, that same earth that holds all the feet of all the seekers who ever walked asking, where is the divine? And the answer was always the same, here, in you. It never left, but you could not hear that answer, because they taught you to search elsewhere. They taught you to look at the sky. They taught you to wait for death. They taught you to trust in books and in figures, and in institutions, and all of that is beautiful if it helps you remember, but it becomes a prison if it makes you forget, and for many it became a prison, no more. Now, in this moment, you are breaking that prison, not with violence, not with rejection, but with recognition. You recognize that the phrase was changed. You recognize why it was changed. And you recognize that the original truth liberates you. It does not liberate you from responsibility, it liberates you toward responsibility, because if the way is to be like Him, then you have work to do. You have to live with love. You have to speak with truth. You have to see others as mirrors of yourself. You have to forgive because you recognize that there is nothing to forgive, only to understand. You have to love because you recognize that love is what you are. It is not something you do. It is what you are. And when you forget that, when you act from fear, from separation, from judgment, you are simply forgetting. And forgetting does not make you bad. It only makes you asleep. And awakening is not an achievement, it is a remembering. Do you see how everything changes with this understanding? Suddenly there is no outside and inside, there are no saved and lost, there are no chosen and rejected, there are only degrees of remembering, there are only levels of awakening, and everyone is on the path, everyone is returning. Some remember faster, some remember slower, but everyone is remembering, because light cannot forget itself forever, it can only play at forgetting, and when the game becomes painful, when the separation becomes unbearable, then the remembering begins. And you are in that moment now, that is why you are here, that is why you are reading this. It is not coincidence, it is not accident, it is the moment when your soul said enough, I want to remember, I want to awaken, I want to be like Him, not worship Him, but be like Him, and to be like Him means to live from the center, from that place in your chest where there are no doubts, where there is no fear, where there is only presence, where there is only love. He lived from there, constantly, in every moment. When He touched the leper, He did not do it from pity, He did it from recognition. He recognized that beneath the disease, beneath the social separation, beneath the rejection, there was the same light as in Him. And when He touched that light, the body responded, because the body always responds to truth. When He spoke to the crowds, He did not speak to control them, He spoke to remind them, you are the salt of the earth, you are the light of the world. He did not say I am the light and you are darkness, He said you are light. And then He added, do not hide that light, let it shine, because He knew that light cannot shine, it can only be covered, and His work, His only mission, was to remove the coverings, to remove the layers of fear, of guilt, of shame, of separation, and to let the natural light of each person emerge. That is what you are doing now, you are removing layers. You are removing the layer of the altered phrase, you are removing the layer of external control, you are removing the layer of insufficiency. And beneath all those layers, what is there? Light, love, wholeness. You do not have to create anything. You do not have to become anything. You only have to remove what you are not. And what you are not is small. What you are not is insufficient. What you are not is separated. Those are the lies you internalized. And now one by one you are releasing them. And with each one you release you breathe more freely. You feel lighter. You feel more yourself. More real. More alive. Breathe again. This time as you inhale, imagine that you are breathing light. Golden light. Warm. Soft. It enters through your nose. Fills your lungs. Expands throughout your body. It reaches your arms, your legs, your head, your heart. And as you exhale, imagine that everything that is not light leaves. All the words that made you feel less. All the doctrines that made you feel separated. All the beliefs that made you feel you needed permission to be whole. All of that leaves. And only light remains. Only you remain. The real you. The you that you always were before they taught you to be something else. And from that place, from that light, ask yourself, how do I live like him? What does it mean in my daily life to be like him? It does not mean wearing robes and walking through the desert. It means living with presence. It means seeing every person you meet as light. It means speaking with truth, even when it is uncomfortable. It means choosing love, even when fear seems safer. It means forgiving, not because the other person deserves it, but because you deserve the peace that comes with forgiveness. It means releasing judgment, because you recognize that judging another is judging yourself. It means living with compassion, because you understand that everyone is fighting invisible battles. It means being present, here, now, instead of losing yourself in the past or the future. It means trusting, not that everything will turn out as you want, but that everything is exactly as it should be for your awakening. That is what he did. He trusted completely, even when everything seemed lost, even when he was alone, even when he was betrayed. He trusted that light is stronger than darkness. He trusted that love is more powerful than fear. He trusted that truth always emerges, no matter how long it is hidden, and he was right. Because here you are, 2,000 years later, and the truth is emerging. The original phrase is returning, and with it your power, your freedom, your remembering. You do not need to go anywhere to validate this. You do not need to seek confirmation in ancient books or in religious authorities. You only need to feel it. Does it feel true in your heart? Does it feel liberating? Does it feel like something you always knew finally has words? Then it is true, for you, and that is enough. You do not need to convince anyone. You do not need to debate. You do not need to prove anything. You only need to live from this knowledge. Live as if you were light, because you are. Live as if you were love, because you are. Live as if the divine were in you, because it is. It will not be someday. It is now. It always was. You simply forgot. And now you are remembering. And as you remember, something beautiful happens. You begin to see others differently. Before, perhaps you saw broken people, people who needed to be saved, people who were wrong, people who were lost. But now with this new understanding, you see light. You see light that forgot it is light. You see light that is playing at being darkness. You see light that is awakening slowly, painfully, beautifully. And instead of judging, you have compassion. Instead of separating, you recognize unity. Instead of preaching, you live the example. Because that is what he did. He did not preach to control. He lived to inspire. And his life, more than his words, was the message. Be like me. Do not worship me. Be like me. Do not follow me blindly. Be like me. Awaken as I awakened. Love as I love. Live as I live. And that is what you are doing now. Perhaps not perfectly. Perhaps with stumbles. Perhaps with moments of forgetting. But you are on the path. You are remembering. And every moment of remembering is a victory. Not over others. Over forgetting. Over fear. Over separation. Every time you choose love, you win. Every time you choose truth, you win. Every time you choose presence, you win. You do not win external prizes. You win internal peace. You win freedom. You win life. Real life. Full life. Life as he lived it. Not because you are special, but because you are what you always were, light that is remembering to be light. Now before you finish reading, I want you to do something. I want you to bring your hands to your chest. Both hands, one over the other, over your heart. Feel the warmth of your hands. Feel your heart beating beneath them. That beat is sacred. It is proof that life is living you. You are not alone. You are not separated. You are connected to the same source that connected him, that connects everyone, that connects everything. And from that connection, from that center, speak in silence. You do not need to say it out loud, just think it, feel it. I am light. I always was light. I am remembering. I am awakening. I am like him. Not because I am arrogant, but because it is my nature. And from this remembering, I live with love. I live with truth. I live with presence. I live free. Breathe deeply. Hold that breath. Feel how your entire being fills with that affirmation, and then exhale. Release. Let go of everything that does not serve. Everything that is not true. Everything that was placed in you by others. And stay with what is yours. With what was always yours. With your light. With your love. With your divinity. Not an arrogant divinity that separates you from others, but a humble divinity that unites you with everyone, because everyone is the same. Everyone is light. Some remember it, some forget it, but everyone is in. And when you live from that knowledge, everything changes. Relationships change. Work changes. The way you eat changes. The way you walk changes. The way you breathe changes, because you are no longer living from the fear of not being enough. You are living from the knowledge that you are already complete, and that completeness is not static. It is not boring. It is not the end of the road. It is the beginning. Because once you remember you are light, you begin to ask yourself, how can I shine more? How can I share this light? How can I help others remember? And the answer is simple. Live. Live authentically. Live with love. Live with truth. Live present. And your life becomes the message. You do not need words. You do not need to preach. Your presence, your peace, your love, speak louder than any sermon, and the people who are ready to remember will find you. Not because you seek them, but because light attracts those who are ready to awaken, and you simply being you, being light, being love, are enough, more than enough. You are exactly what the world needs. Not an external savior, but a rememberer. Someone who lives in such a way that others remember who they are too. This is the truth that was hidden from you. This is the phrase they altered, and this is the freedom that returns. No one comes to the Father except as I am. Not through my name, not worshipping my image, not repeating my words without understanding them, but being as I am, awakening as I awakened, loving as I love, living as I live. And if everyone did that, if everyone remembered, if everyone awakened, what world would we have? A world without religious wars. A world without us against them. A world without saved and lost. A world where everyone recognizes they are light, and from that recognition, they live in peace, in harmony, in love. That was his dream. That was his message. And that message remains alive. Not in institutions. Not in dogmas. But in you. In every conscious breath. In every act of love. In every moment of presence. In every choice of truth over lies. Of love over fear. Of unity over separation. You are remembering. Not because I told you, but because you were ready. Because your soul can no longer tolerate forgetting. Because the light in you is emerging. Unstoppable. Inevitable. Beautiful. And with each day you live from this remembering, the light shines brighter, not only in you, but through you. And it touches others, and they awaken, and they touch others, and they awaken. And so slowly, silently, powerfully, the world changes, not from above, not from institutions or governments or religious leaders, from within, from each heart that remembers, from each person who chooses to be like him, to be light, to be love, to be truth. And you are part of that. You are not small, you are not insignificant. You are part of the greatest awakening humanity has known. The awakening he initiated 2,000 years ago. The awakening that was hidden, repressed, altered, but that never died. Because truth cannot die, it can only be temporarily forgotten. And now in this moment, in this time, it is being remembered, by you, by millions like you, by all who are ready to see beyond the altered words, beyond the controlling dogmas, Beyond the artificial separation, they are seeing the simple, beautiful, liberating truth. We are all one. We are all light. We are all love, and we do not need permission to be so. We only need to remember it. So breathe again. Deep, slow. Feel your body, feel your life, feel the gratitude of being alive in this moment, of being able to read these words, of being able to feel this awakening, of being able to remember. Not everyone is ready. Not everyone will remember today, but you are. And that is beautiful. That is sacred. That is enough. You do not need to convince the entire world. You only need to live your truth. Live your light, and trust that it is enough. More than enough. It is everything. If these words found your heart, do not keep them as information. Live them as experience. Do not defend them as belief. Embody them as truth. And if you feel the impulse to share, do not do it to convince. Do it to remind others, so that someone else, someone who is ready, can read and feel the same thing you felt, can remember the same thing you remembered. You do not need to shout. You do not need to debate. You only need to share with love, with gentleness, with respect. Because light does not impose. Light invites. And you being light, simply invite others to remember that they too are light. The phrase was altered. That is a historical fact. It is not conspiracy theory. It is not spiritual fantasy. It is something that can be traced in ancient manuscripts, in early translations, in conciliar decisions. Scholars know it. Historians know it. But it is not popular knowledge, because popular knowledge was shaped by the institutions that needed the altered version. But now, with access to information, with the collective awakening, with the thirst for truth that more and more people feel, this information is emerging. And you are part of that emergence, part of that revelation, part of that return to the source. And the source is not in the past. It is not in an ancient book. It is not in a sacred building. The source is in you.